By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Hey, how are you? It's your friendly neighborhood podcast host, Tim McCarthy. I am the host of 20 Minutes, a podcast that focuses on mental health through humor, insight, and personal stories. Today we have episode 91. Great year, 1991. I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I was 5 years old. I can't do math. I still do math on my fingers. I was just at Mohegan Sun for my friend Will's bachelor party. And I keep my hands underneath the table when I play blackjack, and I try to count what I have with my fingers. And then if I don't know, I just ask the dealer. Like 8 plus 6, no idea. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Not good at math. Not a math guy. Even though I made it to pre-calculus, don't know how. Cheated off my best friend, Duff. Shout out to Duff for letting me copy his answers. Good thing they don't put GPAs on high school diplomas. Am I right? Don't forget to go to 20minutes.com for more information on me. Watch some episodes, listen to some episodes. You can go to my store, buy some hats, winter hats. Winter is coming. Beanies are top notch. Also, you can reach me at 781-523-9333. Come say hello. This week I have on Natanya Ross. She was Robin Russo on the show The Secret World of Alex Mack. Great interview, great person. She's doing a lot of things. She's a recovering addict. Was homeless, and now she's just thriving. And we had a really good chat. She's the only person I played rock, paper, scissors with, and we only did one matchup. See who won. But yeah, I went to Mohegan this weekend. That's in Connecticut. I love blackjack. It's my favorite game. I try not to go to the casino as much because you're not going to win every time. I just got a recent tattoo of a koala bear, and I got this one on my finger, which is the Semicolon, which is helps promote mental health, especially with people that are going through things. So when you use a semicolon in a sentence, it's not stopping the sentence. So we're the author, and our sentence is our life. So don't stop, baby. No giving up. Just keep moving. But yeah, that was on the inside of my index finger. I didn't feel too good. But I also got a koala bear, which also, funny enough, is my favorite animal, first off. And then second of all, it's also with the mental health first aid. It's their mascot. His name is Algee, and it's an acronym, which I'm going to go over. So if you want, oh no, this is an acronym to help people that are in distress mentally, because it's like first aid. You have first aid for people that are cut. You need a Band-Aid. This is kind of like that, but not a Band-Aid. So the A stands for approach, assess for risk of suicide or harm. Be sure to assess it. Listen non-judgmentally, L. Which is always a good one to have. You got to make sure I don't judge anybody, no matter what they do. It's probably like 1% of things I would judge somebody on. G, give reassurance and information. Always a good tactic. Supply whatever you can to help somebody, even if it's a 988 number or an article or somewhere to just go get help is a great move to do. Encourage appropriate professional help. That's another one. So push them. Hopefully they can get some professional help, because only us as normal human beings can only do so much. And then the other E is for encourage self-help and other support strategies. Fantastic. Algae. So I'm naming my koala bear tattoo Algae. That's who I got. Shout out to my tattoo artist, Mike, aka Cubs from Pins and Needles in Brockton, Massachusetts. If you come to Massachusetts and you want a top tier tattoo, go see him and tell him I sent you. Not to tell him I sent you for a discount, just so he knows that I sent somebody. Good work, though. You pay for what you get. So I was thinking about this the other day. I was on a show recently. Shout out to my guy, Levi. I don't know. I should have asked how he pronounced his name. Great interview. I posted that on my social media at 20 Minutes. So I make the joke, and I only joke about myself, and in this regard is... my possible suicide attempt was on May 5th, 2019, and I joke about it saying it's a Cinco de Hango. And it's funny to me, might not be funny to other people, and I get that, but it's how I deal with such a traumatic thing. And I'm one of those guys that me and my friend talk about this when you go to a funeral and there's somebody in the casket, you're like, oh, he looks good though. And you just kind of laugh about that because that's what everyone says. in those moments, I try not to laugh. And I think the harder the topic or harder the feelings, I have to joke about it. But again, I don't make fun of other people, especially I don't make fun of people that go through suicide. It's just something that I go through. And I don't ever want to offend anybody on purpose. I don't know if that does offend anybody. But I'm not going to, not everyone's going to like me or not going to like my show or like how I do things. And that's totally fine. And I respect that. But I just wanted to say that because I sometimes make that joke. And it might not rub people the right way, which I don't think rubbing people the right way. Actually, no, there's a couple ways you can rub people the right way, right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So the 988 number, so there's new data released not too long ago. The United States Department of Health and Human Services, show that in August, the first full month that 988 was operational, the Lifeline saw a 45% increase in overall volume of calls, texts, and chat compared to August 2021. The number of calls answered went up to 141,000 to 216,000. That's more of a 50% increase according to officials. Text answered went up a whopping 1,000% from 3,400 in 2001 to 39,900 in August of this year. The number of chats on the Lifeline website that were answered saw a 195 increase. I was thinking, I was like, is this a good thing or a bad thing? But I think it's a great thing because now that it's promoted so much with the 988 number, that it's great for people that are seeking help. So I think it's a great thing that more people are seeking help. But man, that can't be an easy job to be on the other end. So in 2021, the average response time for calls and chats was 2 minutes and 30 seconds. 2022, what do you think it is? Higher or lower? Well, if you guessed lower, then you're right. 42 seconds to wait for somebody. Because especially in a crisis, you got to wait 2 minutes to talk to somebody, and you can probably feel unimportant. You can probably feel a lot of different things, and that's unfortunate. But I'm glad that the 988 is working. But yeah, man, that can't be an easy job. Having like somebody's life in your hands and making sure you say or do the right things, or possibly someone committing suicide on the phone. That's so shout out to people that work at 988. I would love to get like one of their people on to see what it's like. Obviously they can't talk about personal stories, but it'd be super intriguing to see how the daily life of a 988 operator works. But yeah, I know I did one of these, but I think it's time for an update. I'm going to cover topics that I've already covered, but hopefully there's a different spin on them. So if you're a diehard 2010 Minutes fan, you got to stick around, baby. You got to refresh that memory box. And to everyone that's new to the podcast, hey, how are you? Thanks for listening. I really need your support. So suicide, tough topic to go. So I always forget to do trigger warnings for people, but I feel like you know what you're getting with me right off the jump. So suicide, if you didn't know, is the 12th leading cause of death in the United States. I'm going to go over what the top 12 are. In 2020, 45,979 Americans died by suicide. 2020, 1.20 million attempts. I don't know what the difference is on that, but that's 45,979 people, way too much committing suicide. And it's unfortunate that all those people had to go that route. So the age-adjusted suicide rate in 2020 was 13.48 per 100,000 individuals. The rate of suicide is the highest in middle-aged white men. In 2020, men died by suicide 3.88 times more than women. On average, there are 130 suicides per day. That is crazy to me. Just to think that 130 people on average take their lives every day is sad. And there's even like the I'm gonna mess it up, but like with servicemen and our veterans are like 22 a day, so they make up that. So that's unfortunate as well. White males accounted for 69.68% of suicide deaths in 2020. In 2020, this is interesting, firearms accounted for 52.83% of all suicide deaths. So obviously that's more than 50%. Say what you will about gun violence and gun reform and everything, but there's something to be said about that number with firearms. Again, I'm not smart enough to have this conversation. I don't really want to give my point of view on guns. But they got to figure out something. They have to figure out an answer to please at least the majority of people, because right now both sides aren't happy. And people arguing and fighting doesn't really work. Like I said before, Facebook people are the worst. They just fight each other. No one has ever changed their mind because of a Facebook post. No one's ever went from like Democrat to Republican or vice versa because like someone's aunt posted something like, you know what? Yeah, they're right. So I can only imagine what this conversation would be like if I was popular enough to get comments on my things. So this was in 2017. The top 12 causes of death in the U.S. account for more than 75% of the deaths. Number 1, heart disease. Number 2, cancer. Number 3, unintentional injuries. This isn't, I'm not being funny, but I didn't know that vending machines were like kind of at the top because people shake them and they're so heavy that they collapse on you. That's got to be ruthless. Number 4, chronic lower respiratory. 5, stroke. Number 6, Alzheimer's disease, which is just, I can't imagine anyone going through that. And I know somebody that is, and I just feel so bad for them. But anyway, 7, diabetes. 8, influenza. Pneumonia. I hate the word pneumonia. You gonna throw a P at me for that? Get out of here. It's like Colonel and baloney. Colonel Baloney. That would be the worst name to have. You would, substitute teachers would be so struggling with that one. 9 is kidney disease. And this was in 2017. So this was, suicide was at 10, but the number went down. So it's at 12 right now, which is pretty good. But it's kind of bad that people are still dying from other things. I should have looked this one up. Septicemia? Fuck, dude, I gotta research more. See, I mostly do the mental health side. When it's something else, not too good. And then 12 is cirrhosis, chronic liver disease. But interesting enough now, COVID was the number 1 cause of death for people 45 to 84 in January 2020. 2020, suicide was the 12th leading cause of death, claiming the lives of over 45,900. So again, that number went down. And I know I just went over that just a second ago. Suicide was the 2nd leading cause of death among individuals between 10 and 14 and 25 and 34. The 3rd leading cause of death among individuals the ages of 15 to 24, and the 4th leading cause of death among individuals between ages 35 and 44. There was nearly 2 times as many suicides in the U.S. as there were homicides. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's in 2019, suicide was the 10th leading cause of death, which I went over. In 2020, liver disease and COVID surpassed suicide as leading causes of death, hence why suicide is going down. But suicide deaths decreased compared to 2019 totals. Suicide is not among the 12 leading causes of death among children between 0 and 4, which is like a stat that's pretty obvious, and nor in adults aged 65 and older. I think 65 and older, you're already at a point where you're like, it can't get much worse. So they're just going to ride out until the sunset, which is good in a way. So among females, the suicide rate was the highest for those aged 45 to 64. So that's 7.9 per 100,000 women. Among males, the suicide rate was highest for those aged 75 and older. Wait, what? This is like backwards. So suicide is not among the 12 leading causes of death. Okay, so it's not the top 12, but people aged 75 and older, that was the suicide rate of the highest. See, these numbers are tough, man. Like, there's so many different variables that go into this, and they just sound like they're like contradicting each other. So the rates of suicide were highest for American Indian non-Hispanic males, 37.4 per 100,000, followed by white non-Hispanic males. Among females, the rates were highest in American Indian non-Hispanic females, white. And yeah, that's very interesting. And obviously firearms are the most common. Same with women, not just men. Common suicide was firearm, next was suffocation, and then poisoning. And then males were firearms and suffocation. And there's obviously reasons, and people always ask what the reasons are. And I know some people don't leave notes behind, which I think is, again, I don't think, this is like another one. Like, people call people who suicided selfish, especially ones that don't leave notes, but you don't know how it is to be that depressed and feel like a burden on everyone's life. And I understand it. It's unfortunate. It's definitely not selfish because they're actually thinking about other people. And, but yeah, it's not easy. And I think with that tattoo I got, the semicolon, it killed. I didn't like it, but it would have hurt more for people that I wasn't in this life anymore. So I understand that a lot. And I'm glad I'm still living because I got a lot to do. And I have a mosquito bite on the back of my ankle, which is like one of those things in life that are a guilty pleasure because mosquito bites suck, but scratching them sure is fun. So reasons for possible suicide is depression, psychosis, cry for help, accidents, and social isolation. So the most common cause of suicide, deep depressive thoughts, are typically accompanied with a sense of suffering and feeling hopelessness about escaping the pain, which I was just going over. It's important to talk about depression no matter how uncomfortable, which I love uncomfortable conversations. If you listen to my interviews, I'm always uncomfortable. Yeah, that's a big one. Depression is obviously like the number one. Psychosis, mental illnesses have known to cause suicide through cognitive impairment. Schizophrenia is a type of psychosis that is often associated with suicidal tendencies. Inner voices will command otherwise functional individuals to self-harm and must be treated to prevent these voices from becoming too authoritative. Michelle Hammer was an interview I did over schizophrenia. She is schizophrenic. She's very open about it. She's even have her house cameras record herself having episodes. So it's super interesting if you want to get into it. I think this too, before I go over the last three, is people only learn about mental health through like doctors and what they read on the internet or what they hear about. You never really hear about people's own personal struggles. Like I talk about mine, I'm not no fucking martyr or like great person that I'm like, oh, let me pat myself on the back. But there's like Facebook groups where people talk about things and someone might not have a trait that isn't listed. And like, how is that fair to be compared and people judge and they're like, oh, well, you don't have this type. No, everyone's fucking different. That's like something that kind of peeves me a little bit because there's not that like people aren't coming out more, but like they should be able to, and they should be safe enough to talk about something like that. I just want to get that off my chest. Next would be a cry for help. It's emotional pain, either cannot or does not alert others, will attempt suicide as a last resort. In some cases, these individuals will select methods that they believe actually won't harm them, but often tragically misinformed. So yeah, that's the whole burden thing. And I get all these, like I totally get them. And then accidental suicide is very common among young teenagers and young adults. This can be linked to substance use problems or typically occurs in suffering from an addiction. The best defense against this is to seek detox treatment or substance abuse recovery. I know like Mac Miller was one that died of an overdose, and I think that was debated. And I think it might have been that like, man, this mosquito bite on the back of my shin is brutal. And I think his like is an accidental overdose because he was just in so much pain with what he was going through. And then social isolation was one, which I can't understand, but I didn't really like think about this. It's different age groups. It causes individuals to experience loneliness, a known leading cause of suicide, especially among men. Those experience social isolation have difficulty expressing their feelings to others and coming forward to admit suicidal thoughts. Due to the perceived threat of isolation, an individual resort to suicide as a way to escape. I don't like being by myself, and maybe that's like what was one of the things that made me want to try to kill myself was dealing with that. So these are the reasons and things to look out for if you see somebody that's depressed. Yeah, so I know this topic of suicide is tough. I'm not going to lie to you guys. This mosquito bite is ruthless right now. I pretty much had a mosquito bite almost take down this whole operation. Scratching the shit out of it. I know this is random a little bit because it's episode 91, but I really wanted to take the time to thank everybody that listens, shares, and promotes the podcast. I love running into people that always say they're like, oh, I haven't listened to it yet. I'm totally fine with that. Even you bringing it up puts a smile on my face. But if you wanted to help out the podcast in a non-financial way, even just sharing it, talking about it, following me, subscribing to me, leaving me a 5-star review on Spotify or iTunes goes a long way. Or even just following me on social media, which is 22 minutes. You can find that anywhere. I'm easy to find on the internet. But I just wanted to take a quick moment to say that. And I just really appreciate you guys. Episode 91. Let's break the stigma by cracking a smile. I love you guys. And let's have a good one. And we're clear. I'm gonna go scratch the shit out of my mosquito bite. This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. If you are feeling suicidal, please dial 911.